Good morning. During this trial, the state will present a circumstantial case that begs you to cast a blind eye to the most important circumstance of all. What's that? Well, it's love. 24 years, 10 months, 2 days. From the first day of their marriage to the last, Nancy Brophy was grateful. She had a husband who was adventurous, loving, playful, and she knew it was a rare gift. Nancy Crampton-Brophy has always been thoroughly, madly, crazy in love with Daniel Brophy, and she still is today. And Dan Brophy was in love with her, so much so that he talked to both his male and female friends about how much he appreciated his marriage. He was a wonderful man. And for Nancy Brophy, he was perfect. Their friends, no matter how they knew them, considered their marriage to be exemplary, even delightful. To appreciate the love that Nancy Brophy had for Dan Brophy, we have to go back a few years. It was the winter of 2015. Nancy Brophy was driving home in the dark. Ahead of her was another car. As she drove, she reached up to rub her right eye. Suddenly, she saw nothing at all. Pitch black. When she opened her right eye, the taillights were back. Nancy Brophy felt sick to her stomach. Her mother had suffered from macular degeneration, and she knew that this was a bad sign, a very, very bad sign. For months, Ms. Brophy was afraid to go to the doctor. But finally, on July 22nd of 2015, Ms. Brophy had an eye exam. The doctor told her that she had a large macular hole in her left eye. The hole would continue to get bigger, and there would be a further loss of vision. Ms. Brophy was scheduled for emergency surgery. But then a routine A1C test for diabetes caused the anesthesiologist to say no. It turned out that Nancy Brophy's blood sugar levels were sky high, and the surgery would be far too dangerous. Ms. Brophy was sent home to try to get her diabetes under control. And in the weeks that she waited for her blood sugar levels to come down, she fretted and worried. And on August 4th of 2015, she'd been up all night worrying about the surgery, worrying about her husband. And at 4:30 in the morning, she pulled out her laptop and began to write a letter to her husband. Dearest Dan, I love you. The years we've had together have been the very best of my life. It was you who made it possible. Thank you. While words are my life, I find myself somewhat at a loss to express how happy you made me. Before I met you, I understood love in only a superficial way. Your belief in family and putting one's marriage front and center taught me about true emotion. After I saw Larry Schneider, I realized how difficult it would be for you if I died during surgery. More than anything, I'm afraid your life would be worse because you might leave money on the table that would help you get through this period. I'm not worried I'll die on the operating table, but one never knows. It's better to be prepared. And maybe I am just a little bit worried. Here's what you'll need to do. Get at least 5 death certificates from the funeral home. Ms. Brophy's letter then describes the life insurance policies that they owned on her life. She explained which policies would pay quickly, which might take a little more time. And then she gave her husband the password to her computer. And then she offered him some advice on selling the house. There's at least $150,000 to $200,000 equity in the house. Listen to what the realtor tells you. Spend some insurance money and fix up the yard. Pack up the house, sell it empty. If you decide not to sell the house, consider a roommate to offset the costs, or find a girlfriend. I understand you think you can live in a tiny house, but you like your stuff way too much to make that work. Regarding her possessions, Ms. Brophy said, I can't think of anything I care enough to worry about, except the wedding crystal and my jewelry. Save them for Adelaide, their granddaughter. Tell her it's special. Ms. Brophy then described the automatic monthly withdrawals that would come from her checking account that Dan Brophy should immediately end, but she flagged 2 payments that she thought he should continue to make. The first came out on the 21st of each month. It was $56 to F&G. She said to Dan, this is an insurance and a savings account for Addie's college fund. I hope you'll keep it. And on the 23rd of each month, $266 to Americo. This is insurance on you. Continue to pay this. You will get all the money back that you paid in about 9 years. The day before she had surgery, Nancy Brophy printed out the letter. She filled in the policy numbers and put the letter inside a bright purple folder labeled Dan. The next morning, Ms. Brophy put the folder on a shared desk in their office and left for her surgery. Nancy Brophy will testify, and much of what I share with you this morning, you will hear from her directly. But for now, let's talk a little bit about life insurance, because it's going to be an important part of this case. It is true, Nancy Crampton-Brophy firmly believes in life insurance, and her love and concern for her husband was demonstrated in the life insurance choices that she made over the years. The experts in this case are going to tell you more than you've ever wanted to know about life insurance, but let's start with some of the basics. First, universal life and whole life policies. What are they? Well, these are very expensive life insurance policies. They're expensive because these policies build up a cash value over time. The owner of the policy can borrow against the cash value. The owner of the policy can pay her premiums with the cash value. Now, the trick here, though, is that the cost of a whole life or universal life insurance policy can range from between 5 and 15 times the cost of a term insurance policy with the exact same death benefit. A return of premium policy. This is another very expensive policy. It is expensive because the insurance company will return all of your premiums that were paid so long as the insured person reaches a designated age. Term life insurance. This is typically the cheapest form of life insurance because it has no cash value, and it only covers a person's life for a specific number of years. If a person's only goal is to collect a death benefit, for example, $100,000 at the time of someone's death, term insurance is by far the cheapest vehicle. The other thing that's important about insurance is legal ownership. Ownership carries the right to name the beneficiary. It carries the right to terminate the policy, the right to take a loan against the policy, the right to receive the cash value, and the right to the entire return of premium if that's the sort of policy it is. Nancy Brophy made Dan Brophy the legal owner of every policy that insured his life. The other thing about insurance is that age matters. The older one gets, the harder it is to get really good insurance at a reasonable price. When one reaches the age of 60, the scope of attractive, available policies narrows considerably. In this case, age is important because Nancy Brophy was 4 years older than her husband. There were times in their marriage that he was eligible for policies for which she was not. Now let's look at the Brophy's policies. Nancy Brophy began purchasing life insurance for her and Dan decades before Dan's death. From 1996 until 2018, there was insurance covering Dan's life, and there was insurance covering Ms. Brophy's own life. Ms. Brophy's purchased the first policies in 1996 before she and Dan got married. The two of them were on their way to Hong Kong. The policies she bought were two identical term policies for $100,000. She bought the second set of policies in 2000, right after she and Dan had bought their house. One policy insured Dan's life for $250,000, and one policy insured Nancy's life for $250,000. She ended up keeping the earlier policy so that there would be enough money to cover the mortgage should one of them die. In 2007, Ms. Brophy changed careers. For a long time, she had run a catering company called Chef du Jour. As she started to get older and realized what a brutish career that would be as she headed into her 60s, she sold the catering company and took a job selling life insurance. The first company she worked for was a company called American Income Life. So in 2007, as an employee of American Income Life, Nancy Brophy bought two $100,000 universal life policies from her employer. She kept the $250,000 policies she'd bought earlier in place, so again, that there would be enough money to cover their mortgage should one of them die. In 2011, Ms. Brophy changed employers. So in 2011, she stopped paying on the American Income Life policies and bought two very similar policies from her new company, Lincoln Heritage. Again, one policy insured Dan's life for $100,000, and the other insured Nancy's life for $100,000. Why change policies for the same amount of a benefit? Well, part of it had to do with employer loyalty. A key to selling an insurance policy is the vote of confidence that comes from owning the insurance of the company you represent. The other reason, though, and it was a financial reason, and many insurance experts will tell you this, Ms. Brophy earned a commission on each policy she sold, and that included the policies that she purchased for herself or sold to herself to insure her life or her husband's life. So there was always a financial incentive, at least after the first year, to change policies from time to time. In 2012, Ms. Brophy moved to another brokerage firm called NAS. Again, she bought two new policies for her and Dan. These were Mutual of Omaha policies for $150,000 each. These policies were replaced the following years with better policies. And that's one of the things I want you to know. You will hear throughout this case that Ms. Brophy has bought policies, and you'll see that they continue through the years. But the important thing to pay attention to is whether she's actually paying premiums to continue those policies, because many of the policies that the state relies upon were not in force at the time of Dan's death. So one of the things we're going to ask each of you to track is not just whether a policy was purchased, but whether the premiums were being paid and the policy was in effect at a given time. In 2012, not only did Ms. Brophy buy these two new life insurance policies from her new employer, that year she added a very inexpensive accidental death policy that covered both her and Dan as a family plan. That was for $250,000. The first time that Ms. Brophy did not buy identical policies was in 2012. This was the year that she bought two foresters policies. The policy insuring her life was for $50,000, and the policy insuring Dan's life was for $40,000. In this case, it was Dan's gender that was the key. For the same premium, she could get $50,000 on her life and $40,000 on her.
We're going to hit the pause button for just a moment on the defense opening statement to unpack a couple really big things. Let me bring in now our guest on the program. He is a forensic psychologist practicing in San Antonio, Texas. Dr. John Delatorre is on the show today. Dr. John, I know you caught this, the big news with defense counsel letting the jury know that Nancy Brophy is going to take the stand. Your thoughts on how that might go for her, please?
I mean, it's always high risk, high reward. She's got a lot to answer for, particularly with these ghost guns. And I understand that the defense attorney is talking about how, it's important to understand that some of these insurance policies were not having premiums paid on them. But what was the need to have so many different ones open at the same time, moving from one account to the next? What was going on in her mind? It's high risk, high reward. She's certainly going to rely on the two of them were in love, but there's a lot of things that were going on in their lives that it sounds like Dan did not know was actually happening.
Right, and I'm glad you mentioned that, because as I was watching defense counsel's PowerPoint detailing all of those different policies, I kept thinking, ugh, if I was on the defense side, I really wouldn't want to be breaking this down and putting it in front of the jury. It's one thing if the state does it. I kind of expected the state to have a display kind of like the one defense is showing the jury now, but for them to do it, you're the psychology expert, not me. Is there a bit of a risk here that maybe they shouldn't be running?
Yeah, there definitely is a risk, but I think the defense attorney is trying to get ahead of it, right? What the defense attorney doesn't want is for the jury to only hear the explanation from the prosecutor. Mm-hmm. So if she gets ahead of it now to explain everything, that perhaps it will stick with the jury a little bit more than the prosecutor will do later on in his case in chief.
Yeah, exactly. Taking the sting out. We see that. That's certainly a strategy. And I think you're right on, Dr. John, with that. I think that's why she's doing it. I just don't know if I would have created a PowerPoint for it. But she did, and she let the jury know very early on about Nancy Brophy testifying. And that's also a big risk. You've watched enough trials to know you can't promise anything you're not going to deliver. So they're kind of committed to that, even though she can still legally, technically change her mind. Tell me, if you are a juror on this, do you think you might see the case a little differently, knowing that testimony from the accused is forthcoming?
I think so. I think some of it's going to be me waiting for that to happen. Like I could easily see some jurors just kind of anticipating everything happening. Maybe they're jotting down notes, but maybe they're not paying attention because they're just waiting to know what she's going to say, because she's the most important player in this whole scenario.
Yes, Dr. John Delatorre, thank you for all of that. We're going to squeeze in a quick break. When we come back, we'll see more of the defense opening statement in the romance novelist murder trial.
CNOC.com now.
This is Court TV Live, your front row seat to justice. I'm Julie Grant. Right now, opening statements are underway in the romance novelist murder trial. The accused is 71-year-old Nancy Brophy. She's being charged with murdering her husband of 26 years. His name is Daniel Brophy. And right now, the jury is learning about how Brophy infamously wrote an essay titled "How to Murder Your Husband." Defense attorney Lisa Maxfield just said that the defendant will testify at some point in this trial. She's now detailing the life insurance policies of the victim in the case and what Nancy Brophy stood to gain upon his death. Let's go back in now where we left off.
His life. In 2013, the Oregon Colony Institute bought a policy for its employees. It was a group life insurance policy, and each employee was entitled to up to $50,000 of coverage. Ms. Brophy will tell you that this was not a policy that was considered part of the Brophy's overall financial plan. Excuse me. Why? Well, Nancy and Dan Brophy had witnessed two culinary schools go belly up. First it was Western Culinary Institute, and then it was Cordon Bleu. You'll hear in this case that actually the Oregon Culinary Institute has gone bankrupt as well. It's also true that Dan Brophy got fired from his job from Western. And so what they knew is that an employer policy might be here today, but it very well could be gone tomorrow. And it wasn't something that either one of them wanted to rely upon, especially as they got older and insurance was going to be more difficult to replace. In June of 2014, Nancy Brophy would turn 64, and Dan Brophy would turn 60. Ms. Brophy knew that age 60 would be the very last year that she could get a really good policy on Dan Brophy's life, at least one at a reasonable price. So in 2014, Nancy bought 2 policies, each covering the other, for $100,000. But Dan's AmeriCorps policy was much, much more expensive than a term policy like the one she had on her life. Our expert will tell you that it likely cost 3 times as much as a 20-year term policy for $100,000 and 6 times as much as a 10-year term policy for $100,000. So why would Nancy pay premiums that were 6 times higher for the same death benefit? She paid those higher premiums because she was betting that Dan Brophy would reach the age of 78. And if Dan Brophy reached the age of 78, he would get all of the premiums that they had paid for that policy over time. If Dan reached the age of 78, on his 78th birthday, he would pocket $65,000 in cash, and his $100,000 death benefit would continue on. Dan's return of premium policy was something that wasn't available to Ms. Brophy at the time due to her age. You might have noticed this little gold box on it says Fidelity. You can barely see Fidelity, but trust me, that's what it says. The Fidelity box on the screen. This represents a policy that Dan Brophy bought as a condition of his divorce settlement. The beneficiary of this policy was his ex-wife, Perla. This policy stayed in force for many years until the term ended. But in 2015, Fidelity Insurance offered Dan a really cheap renewal. I mean, we're talking maybe something that cost $20 a month, $30 a month. Dan renewed that policy and this time made Nancy Brophy the beneficiary. This was a policy that Dan continued to pay for out of his own accounts. Ms. Brophy did not make any of the payments or control the beneficiary. Now, by November of 2016, Nancy Brophy was 66 years old. She was now collecting Social Security, and she was trying to transition into a career of selling Medicare. Until now, Nancy and Dan were pretty equal income earners. There were some years where one did better than the other, but for the most part, they both kind of had their oar in the water, and their family income was made out of 2 pretty equal incomes. But in 2016, as Nancy went on to Social Security and was starting to make a change in her insurance career, Dan became the primary earner. And as the window to affordable insurance would now close for Dan, who was now 62, Nancy bought a term policy from American Amicable. Again, that purchase occurred on November 6th of 2016. The same policy wouldn't have been affordable on Nancy's life due to her age. Now, keep in mind again that Nancy Brophy earns commissions on every policy she sells. So this policy that was purchased in November of 2016 paid a commission to the Brophies. So she and Dan Brophy
About those life insurance policies. We're going to hit pause. You're not going to miss a moment of this. Also, just wanted to address something. We've been getting a lot of comments from all of you on Twitter, and we thank you for all of them. Yes, we are hearing that typing. Yes, it is probably the courtroom stenographer or court reporter, depending on what the jurisdiction is. However, just so you know, it's not an issue with our court TV microphones. We are provided the audio system in that courtroom from the courthouse. So it is their audio system, not ours, and we're just taking that feed. So if there's anything that can be done to correct it, I assure you we will, but as of right now, it's out of our control. So thank you for watching. Thank you for being patient with that. We'll be right back live with more after this.
5.
Welcome back to Court TV Live, your front row seat to justice. I'm Julie Grant. Let's go back to court together now. We're in Portland, Oregon for day number 1 of the romance novelist murder trial. Defense counsel is delivering their opening statement right now. And she was talking about Nancy Brophy selling life insurance. We know she had a lot of policies in place when her husband was killed. Let's watch.
She and Dan Brophy had an influx of cash just as the holidays neared. The other thing that happened in 2016, actually it really happened in 2015 as they started to put the bones into this. Nancy's surgery and the whole finding out that she had diabetes and having this thing that was very, very scary for her made her think that they needed to get their ducks in a row. They needed to figure out what they owned, what they didn't own. They needed to come up with a concrete plan to get into retirement, especially because she was 4 years older. So in 2016, she and Dan Brophy began to work in concert to phase into retirement. Both of them were in lines of work that would allow them to kind of turn the faucet down a little bit and maybe unwind gradually. But they knew that whatever they did, they needed to work together if it was going to be successful. Dan and Brophy's plan involved 4 parts. First, Nancy Brophy would begin to take Social Security benefits. Second, Nancy would shift from selling life insurance to selling Medicare, and she and Dan could rely on a stream of Medicare commissions that would take them well into their 70s, maybe longer than that. Dan Brophy planned to keep working at OCI for at least another 5 years. And the 4th part of their plan involved the subdivision and sale of their house. Their hope was to do this sometime in 2018. Well, applying for Social Security revealed an embarrassing fact. After throwing a huge wedding for family and friends in 1997, neither of the Brophies had remembered to file the marriage license. The Brophies had believed that they were married. They'd always filed their taxes as husband and wife, but in the eyes of the law, they were not legally married. Dan and Nancy joked about having another big party, but in the end, they settled for a trip to the Washington County Courthouse. The next step toward retirement was for Nancy Brophy to transition from selling life insurance to a career selling Medicare. Why the change? Well, first of all, selling life insurance is really hard, especially the way Nancy Brophy did it. It required buying leads from someone else and then literally going out and knocking on people's doors who maybe had expressed some remote interest in buying life insurance and convincing them to buy a policy as you stood on their doorstep. If you were lucky enough to sell the policy that day and that client sometime within the first year stopped paying the premiums,